Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Warcraft Workshop. I just want to address this right away. We did take a little bit of a break. Jedith and I were feeling a little bit busy with all of the new expansion stuff, so we needed to take a little break there, but we are back today. So my name is Preheat. I'll be your host, and also Jedith here is my co-host.
Hello. Great to be back.
We're both co-hosts, actually.
Yes, yeah. We are each other's co-hosts. There's no main host. We're both mains, we're both co's. Whatever that means.
And we also are joined by Touchpadwarrior today.
Hello.
So yeah, lots of stuff happening in World of Warcraft this week. Obviously, we have a new expansion coming out. You'll know about that very, very soon. Yeah, hopefully you have the early access. If you don't, afterwards on the stream, I will be giving away one of these bad boys. Yeah. But we're going to be talking today about just World of Warcraft in general. Normally, we talk with the aim of improving yourself as a player, but today we're going to be kind of taking that in a different angle. So the idea is, what other aspects of the game you may enjoy and how you can be effective in those the strategies to find whatever it is that you enjoy the game. So let's go ahead and kick these things off. So my first question for you, Touchpad, what do you love about World of Warcraft? Is there like a certain aspect of the game that makes you log in? Or, is it more of like a, I guess just a habit at this point? Or what are your feelings on that?
I would say about 8 years ago, I had to reevaluate what my purpose was to log it in. And at that point in time, I was like just getting out of college. I was going to work and doing all this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I don't really have a need to log in anymore, but I still had friends playing the game. I was still part of like a prog mythic guild. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll keep doing it because of that. And then when I picked up streaming, that's when like it started to grow, like my friendship circle, like both of y'all. And so that's what honestly kept me more motivated to keep playing the game than anything else. The content there was like secondary. Always the friendships were primary for me.
Yeah, very social game. I feel the same way too. Like, even whenever I was like raiding hardcore, the reason I got into it was just because I just wanted to play with my friends. It was just really fun. Yep. So aside from obviously like the community aspect of the game, like is there a certain type of content in the game that you enjoy more, like Mythic Plus or PvP or raiding? What would you say like is your favorite?
Kind of weird. Honestly, I enjoy raiding the most, but I quit raiding because it's just not good for me anymore. I was like, I don't think this is a healthy dynamic that I need to have in my life anymore. That truly is actually the aspect I enjoy the most. And then every once in a while I get kind of like a teaser. And I'm like, ooh, like maybe I should do that again. Oh yeah, maybe like, ooh, spreadsheets and fun things and organized guild. And then I get a little bit in it and it's toxic.
Did you quit raiding before you were a content creator?
About a year or two in. It was during Orgazoa Prague. So,
okay.
That's fun times. That's a good time to
Shora's Palace, yeah. Or Eternal Palace, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. So then I switched to just doing mount collecting because like, okay, what do I do with this now huge time block that I had every single week that was dedicated towards raiding now that I'm not doing that? And so I try to shift my entire stream towards being like a talk show instead of, or like a game show where it's entertainment on me as the primary and the game secondary, which is a weird shift to do. Because to be honest, I wasn't really good at raiding. I wasn't like a top tier warrior. Nobody's watching my channel because like, oh man, I need to learn how to play warrior from the drunken asshole online. It's realistically and without a mouse, right? So like it just didn't make sense. Understandable. And then I'd also get people kind of pissed at me if I outperformed them. So that didn't help either. So then I switched to doing mounts, and that was like the best thing for me because it was just relaxing. I could be interactive. I could talk to my chat. I could have gadgets, bells and whistles, things and stuff that I just added to the room just to do silly things to try to be entertaining. And that's what helped cultivate that atmosphere for me. And that's why I ended up going towards collecting as a primary. But still, like when it goes into each season, I do every single type of content there is in the game, including, and I'm not a huge fan of it, pet battles.
Yes.
I think you might be the first pet battler that we've had on the show.
I would not categorize myself as such. I saw that community from like an offset of mine because they talk, and then as soon as I say something bad about it, flames come a bust. It's like, okay, well,
listen, I'm a pretty big pet battler myself, but only whenever it's required, which the last time actually was coincidentally Eternal Palace. Had to do all the pet battles so you could get the rep, so you could get the Azerite traits, So I mean the name implies it, right? But like I think one of the most interesting things is that you play with a touchpad. Most folks probably play this game with a mouse, and you play well with it. So I think that's definitely interesting. I know a lot of folks actually, you might be surprised to hear this too. Even Limit Max or Liquid Maximum back in the day was on the touchpad, and
you play Guardian Druid and In Cataclysm, when
I actually played that way as well. Yeah, but it was like a MacBook touchpad, so it was like a really good one. And back in the day, just having that down there with your thumb is actually nice. So I mean, I wouldn't play that way anymore, but I definitely see the value in that. Like it can be pretty interesting. But I want to expand on the collection thing. Mm-hmm. So as a collector, what would you tell someone if they are looking to maybe explore or flirt with the idea of collecting mounts? What would be your advice for that person?
I'll kind of like answer this way. The most common question I get is somebody comes in a chat, they find me from like socials and whatnot. They're like, hey man, I want to get in collecting, like how you just asked, right? What do I do? It's like, how do I start? It's like, well, look through your mount journal and see something you like and then go get it. So like, it's either two questions. So I tell them like, okay, do you want the number counts so you can get achievements, or do you just want to collect cool shit, right? Pardon my French. It's like, and then like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. I'm like, well, yeah, it's kind of important. Like, why are you, what's the point of you doing this? What's your end goal? And then most cases like, oh, well, I kind of just want like all the cool stuff. It's like, okay, then just make a list of the cool things you want. And the counter question is like, well, tell me what's cool. It's like, no, that doesn't matter. It's all pixels. Which one looks cool to you? Go get it. Like, it's not a big deal. You don't have to like min max this scenario. If you do want to, there is like wild, chaotic ways. And I do have some tips for that, but it's like, just enjoy the experience of having relaxed stuff there. Like most of us have a 9 to 5. Do you want to have like another job while you're logging into the game? And then
yes.
Well, you guys do. And yes. I guess myself, but in a different atmosphere, right? So
right.
I just try to guide them. And it's like, look for like, I know the mount journal is like huge. And that's one of the biggest problems is like the inflation hit there too, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I currently am sitting at 1,091. I'm in world 50, like for collection stuff for just mounts. So it gets daunting just right out the gate. If you're a brand new player logging in the game and you get your first mount and then you see that there's 1,000 plus more, you're like, it might take you 30 minutes to scroll through the list to find something you want. But after that point, you just make a game plan to try to go farm that thing. And then once you get that in a rhythm, then you tackle on another thing.
I'm going to pick your brain afterwards a little bit to see if you can maybe link some, like if you have any resources that might be useful for folks to keep track of this kind of stuff. Because yeah, like you said, like if you're scrolling through the mount journal, it seems like there's just like so much stuff in there. It can just feel like you're getting lost in it. But
I made plenty of videos on that kind of topic for like trying to help people navigate that system.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So like, is there anything in the game that you would change if you had the opportunity about how the mount collection system works? Like if you were a dev for a day, what would you change?
Well, first off, they're slacking on mount collection achievements. That would be the primary thing. I think the last time we had a mount collection achievement was, well, I guess just before this expansion, we had the Otter, but it had been like almost 4 years, I think, since the last one. I was like, okay, that's too much of a gap. At least like once per expansion, maybe in a 0.5 patch, you slap that thing in there and give people some incentive to go collect stuff. The other thing I would say is, in comparison to Dragonflight to other expansions, Shadowlands, we'll do this. Sorry, getting sidetracked here a little bit. Shadowlands was a nightmare for mount collecting because they added like 3 1% drop mounts per covenant. So then at the start of the expansion, when you tried to go and farm things, you actually, the ideal way to do it was have 4 characters at the start that were max level, all working on the round at the same time, all doing their daily objectives to try to get that 1% mount.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare. That's not cool. Like that's just not fun or engaging for everybody to go kill like the same rare every single day. If that rare happened to be there that day, to get a 1% drop. So the chance on the chance was not fun.
Yeah.
Going into Dragonflight, they kind of eliminated almost like all 1% drops. So they had like it was mostly progression systems to obtain these things. And then obviously if you do raiding, you get stuff, but it was more like a dragon skin, like for Aberys and for Myrtil, right? And well, actually all the raids, Full Incarnate too.
Pretty much all of them, yeah.
Yeah. And then there was like maybe a few rare drops like in the world. That was it. Everything else was progression. They did do a good job of navigating, having some being like quests. So you go do a daily quest, which is a rare thing to even see nowadays, and have that objective, some reputation, renown-esque, and then some you just like collect this currency, farm it a little bit, and then boom, you got it. I think there's a sweet spot between the two of those, where you want to seek out something that's actually a rare drop because it's engaging for you, and you have that excitement, that rush when it drops, because you're like, holy shit, I got them out. Like, let's go. Like, that's awesome. And like, you have that cool thing you get to enjoy for probably a week. And then have the other things like be progression based on the sides. That way you always have something you're working towards each day.
Yeah.
Like you always have something there to look forward to. And then it's like, oh, you know what? Maybe I do want to go take that chance real quick. So I think that's the best thing to do. I'm not sure how it looks in the More Within, because typically going into a new expansion, I try to keep myself very distant from it because I want to explore that aspect of the game myself. And also in like alpha, beta into live, they change how you collect mounts like so rapidly.
Right.
Like I think Tahunta, like that mount from Maldraxxus was just a random drop off of Tahunta. Like it was like, okay, cool, I got it. Like my first kill on beta. And then it ended up being this whole like elaborate process when it went into live. I was like, okay, well that's not really a guide you can make in advance. So if I were to change things, I would have an in between. There should always be rare things to search for every single patch, and there should always be like something you can progress towards.
How did you feel about the meta achievement in Dragonflight for the Tython mount?
I thought that was really sick.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I think one of the best things, and to my understanding, how Blizzard wanted to have that system work, was they added it early enough before the expansion ended that if you're coming back to the game, that was basically your checklist to see what happened in that expansion. So you got to see like each aspect of what happened in that expansion. So that way it also wasn't just dead content for that seasonal patch. And you can actually go visit it and see what Blizzard worked towards. And then you also get like a history lesson of like what happened while you were gone with an incentive there at the end. Right. So it was something you could progress towards. You got to explore each separate thing each day and like, okay, maybe I want to tackle like this subsection first today. Okay, I'm getting tired of that. Let's switch it over here. So I think it was really good for collectors and honestly anybody because they had a really good reward at the end. It was a giant dog.
Yeah.
I got nerfed and then everybody yelled at him, including myself. And then within like 48 hours, they're like, hey, pup date. I was like, wow, good job.
That's a pup date.
Pup date.
Yeah. That's what they titled. Because it was like the community was an outroar. It's like, okay, well, I'm a Mythic Raider and like I really wanted that because it was cool. And they nerfed the size of it. And it's like, honestly, that shouldn't affect it too much. But I liked it because it was kind of the whimsical essence of World of Warcraft was back. Because it was fun when you got those silly items. It didn't make sense. It didn't matter if it didn't make total sense to be there in the game, but it was fun and silly to have. And that kind of whimsical essence, I think, keeps the spirit of WoW alive. So, look, I'm really happy they actually reversed that change.
It's no fun if every mount can fit through all doorways.
Yes.
No. And also being a Tarn main, I'm used to that anyways, so it's fine.
I definitely love my Magic Rooster because it always fits in all the doorways and also very whimsical because it's a giant chicken. But yeah, I do love the variety of mounts in the game. I actually have the Otter. That was the last one I recently like tried to go get, and then I looked it up, and you know I saw that there was like no achievement for the next step, so I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'm done now. You know,
that's fun. To have like you hit your goal and then you have 2 years of just nothing afterwards. That's really cool.
So I guess what you would change is like the serotonin there should be like two basic feeds of it, right? It's like you get the random boom huge hit of serotonin because you get the crazy mount that never drops, and then also you're working towards something, so it's deterministic in a way, so that you actually feel like you're not wasting your time completely, right? Because if you just do like 1% drops the whole day, you get nothing for like 20 days in a row. You're probably just gonna give up. I mean,
you relate it to like if you do Mythic Plus and rating, it's like, okay, you got your best slot trinket, huge, like you're stoked, you're excited, you get to use that more. It's the same thing for getting like those rare mounts and stuff. It's like, okay, cool, let me get this item. Woo, I got it. Does it affect your player power? Not at all. But it's still like that serotonin hit that you have equivalent to when you would get those best slot items for collectors in their community.
Are there any mounts left in Dragonflight that you don't have yet?
Nope.
You have all of them. Wow.
If you look up Symbol Armory, like, and you go to the planner, you hit the check button, it just says, congratulations, you're done.
Damn.
That's crazy.
So was that like a goal going into the War Within that you'd just be done with this one so you could just check it off the list and focus on
with how I saw it
stuff?
and how each patch happened, like I said, they kind of removed like a lot of the 1% drops. There's still a few, don't get me wrong, but they kind of removed the bulk of them. So it was more so like a matter of when, not if. And so it was like there wasn't really that rush for me at all this expansion, where there was like almost an overbearing rush to happen for Shadowlands. Like where it's just too daunting for a lot of folks. So, like it wasn't really ever a goal. It was like, it'll happen. So there wasn't really a thrill or excitement for it.
So what do you do now after there's no more mounts to collect? How are you spending your time in the game?
Oh, I just uninstall.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what most collectors would do. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people, because they only see like social media stuff, they don't really get to see like what I actually do on stream. I have my own seasonal pattern of things. I don't have like a locked in date, like, okay, at this time, this day, we're starting this route now. No, it's just like whenever I get the feel for it, whenever I get too exhausted, At the start of each season, I push for Keystone Master, Keystone Hero by like week 2, week 3, and then I do rating stuff. I just pug because I'm not Mythic rating anymore. It gets enough of like that taste of what that was before without having to invest too much time into it. And then I'll get all my PvE stuff up, get my gear up, make sure my character's juiced, good to go. Then I'll go into a collection cycle where I'm just like exploring the world. It's like, okay, what kind of achievements do we have? What kind of mounts can we go get? Sweet, let's do this. And then once that gets boring, then I just do PvP for like the rest of the expansion or season.
That's
and then try to hit like 2100. Yeah. I rotate between all the stuff, like it keeps a good pattern where the game doesn't get boring for me. Instead of just doing like, okay, every day I'm logging in and doing 8 hours of Mythic Plus. Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't time that high key.
There's a lot of mounts in PvP too, so you kind of have to, right?
And I'm only missing one now.
Wow. Is it like the first season Glad mount?
No,
like the TVC one?
I don't have any Glad mounts. I'm playing a touchpad. What do you expect out of me? Right? It's like the progression mounts.
You're a warrior though.
Levels. Honestly, it's more fun for me to play in my Deathland or my Shaman. So I just go for like the guaranteed ones, like the auto level and the seasonal reward. Like as long as you get like 100% for your seasonal reward, you get that seasonal reward mount. The vicious saddle stuff. I think I have like 30 vicious saddles in my bank that are just waiting there because there's nothing to spend them on.
Mm.
A lot of people were definitely underestimate how much I PvP. Yeah.
Yeah. I was mainly referencing like Warrior Resto used to be like the goated 2s comp like way back in the day.
At least once per season. It's nice. But you can't get Gladiator in 2s anymore. So you have to do 3s. Okay. And the game's evolved so much in PvP, like how it has in PvE, that it's just like, dude, I can't keep track. Like I have to have like 3 week auras to see what's going on, and then 15 add-ons to see like what cooldowns going on for who and like how that layup works with this class. And I'm like, no, I'm doing another shot of whiskey, and then we're just gonna tackle it and pray for the best. It'll be fine. Just get a good crit.
Do you do like rated battlegrounds as well?
I'm excited for Blitz. Just every time I tried to go into RBGs, it was just a nightmare having like 10 folks in call, because that's the most efficient way. Actually, have an organization. And then if you tried to do like YOLO RBGs, there was just always like 3 people complaining the entire time in chat. They're like, "Why are we at this base? You guys are stupid." It's like, I don't need this in my life. Leave me alone.
I feel that.
I don't have time for that.
Those rated, the new ones coming out, like the solo queue rated battlegrounds. I think those are going to be really cool, really fun, but it's going to be so toxic to get into those. Like regular solo shuffle is already a shit show. Now imagine throwing, 40 people in there. It's going to be nuts.
The good thing is you do have a pain enlisted buddy, so you do get to queue up with a healer if you want to. So at least you can banter with somebody that's your friend while you're doing that scenario.
Yeah.
So instead of just being like, I'm all by myself, this is going to be great. I'm such a happy boy, and just praying for the best.
And you have someone to blame whenever it goes bad, because
because you have to queue with the healer. So that's right. There you go, easy peasy.
Yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit, a lot of stuff we're really excited for in the new expansion. But one of the things that I've noticed that I really love, and it coincides with the return of one of the crowd favorites, Metzen, is the tonal shift in the way that they're doing like the story and the questing and really everything with World of Warcraft, like the entire flavor of it. There's kind of like a Disney Channel vibe that I think we had in Dragonflight, which people may have been turned off by. I know I was, especially in Yggdrasil, whenever you see like the final cinematic after Ferric.
You're like, wow.
And it's just like a little bit too Disney princess vibes with that. So, obviously we're moving into kind of a different tone here, and we've been seeing that now with all the new cinematics too, like really banging cinematics, really good tone and feeling to it. So what do you think of that shift, and when did you first notice it?
I first noticed it when you log into the beta and you have that starting quest. That was like, oh, okay, cool. We're starting off like that. Sweet, got it. Which, people don't want spoilers, you'll find out. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. Everybody's happy and alive. So in Shadowlands, it was like kind of cutting up tying off loose ties with major lore characters we had in the past. So like with Garrosh, with Kel'Thas, like seeing what happened to them, aside from just like, how bad of an expansion that was. Like that's kind of how it was storytelling wise, and like how the theme and vibe was for that expansion. Dragonflight felt like it was supposed to be like the healing and therapy expansion. Like it's okay. We can finally have a time where we're not just fighting constantly. Let's work on these. And what Blizzard did in that time as a player, it felt like they were trying to mend some of the problems and complications they had in the past. So that way it made a better foundation moving forward. Going into the War Within, from what I have done on beta, it definitely has the older kind of feel, like how World of Warcraft did, where there is exploration and discovery and some cool things, but there's also that darker tone. and like the more serious things, and bad things can happen and will happen. It's not like we're always protectors and we're always champions of the Alliance and Horde. Woo, let's go. Now it's like, all right, come on, you peon, like go do something. It's like, okay, whoa, hey, calm down, buddy. I killed Deathwing. Remember that? It's like nobody cares. Everybody can do Deathwing now. Like, so
even just aesthetically, it's very in contrast to Dragonflight. Like Dragonflight was outdoors, right? You can see the sky all the time. You can see the sun. And in the War Within, most zones are underground.
Yeah, which is kind of like how we feel as gamers, right? We're locked into our dungeon. So now we can actually relate to the content we're seeing on screen. And like, just like me, he's in his dungeon too. Neat.
There it is.
Totally.
Yeah.
I also get no sunlight.
Dude, I would love to live in, complete darkness with the giant crystal that's providing the light source to everything.
Would you?
Halifall. Yeah, that'd be sick, dude. Yeah. As long as it has vitamin D coming out of it, I think we'd be good. Or maybe we take supplements down there.
Does vitamin D exist in World of Warcraft? We don't have.
There's no proof. We would have to prove it. Yeah. But no, I love the way also that they've structured the entire world, right? So like the verticality to it. Since you show up and you're just like, oh, cool, an island, right? They've never done this before. Yeah. And then you go and you do the quest, and it's like, we want you to go down that hole. And you're like, oh, that hole? You want me to go down there? Okay, yeah, sure. There's just probably like a couple, mobs down there, a little dungeon.
Basic dungeon layout that has the exact same pattern, like there's 5 of them that you rotate through. Yeah, great.
Yeah, like being a veteran WoW player, you're like, oh, I know what they're going to have down here. You go down there and it's like, wait a second. This is the rest of the zone. Oh, okay,
it's a whole new world.
Yeah, and then you just do it again, and it's like there's even more stuff down there. And I just love how everything's connected. There was like an aha moment I had whenever I was on alpha, because they released the zones one by one, but you didn't get to go from zone to zone. You just kind of like popped in, and then you did the quests, and then you were done, and you get kicked out, right? So I did all the zones, and I did all the quests, and got my separate characters all leveled up, and that was good and fun. But then whenever I logged in for, the actual beta, I realized that like, wait, these are all connected, right? So it was crazy taking like a griffin all the way from like the bowels of on Kahet down there all the way back up to the capital, because I got to see everything on the way up, and I was just like losing my mind, like, holy shit.
It must have felt massive too.
This is where this thing is.
I haven't done that myself yet. I just did like the major entry where it's like you go down. And the cool thing is, my concern was like if you could travel back up the same way, or if there's like, okay, they're going to give you a teleporter, right? It's like, no, there's like a slipstream that you get to like ride up going back up to Dornogal. And I thought that was really sick they added.
When I did that flight, because at the end of the campaign, there is a quest where you have to fly back from the bottom of Ashgahed all the way back up. When I did that, my character just flew right through all the walls and through the ceiling, and it was a very short flight. Fun. Yeah, it was directly there.
We need to figure out how you took that. Yeah.
When the things weren't connected, I just used my shaman for Farsight and just started exploring everywhere.
Oh.
So that was really interesting. Definitely saw through a lot of walls I probably shouldn't have. Anyways.
Seen some shit.
Things, man. There's some things in those walls, man.
I love, dude, tangent, but dude, shaman abilities like Farsight's so cool, right? And there used to be Sentry Tome too. Oh my god, I don't know if you ever played with Sentry Totem, but that was a banger as well.
In Burning Crusade, I had to dual main because I was playing a warrior, obviously. And it's like some fights, like Felmus and stuff, it's like we don't need another melee DPS. So at the end of Burning Crusade, I had double 4-piece on 2 characters. So I was playing Elemental Shaman half the time, and I was playing Fury Warrior the other time. So I used to have an add-on called Got Wood. So I had like a little plank of wood over here, because you had to keep track of your totems.
Right.
So it had one for each type of element that you had for your totem bar.
Yeah, I was playing Shaman back then too. I remember the totem twisting days.
Yeah.
I was I had it on retainer that I would show up anytime any of the warriors wanted to do battlegrounds or world PvP. I would show up and I would drop my Wind Fury totem for them. Yes, and in exchange, I was the first in line for the Hand of Ragnaros if we got the eye to drop, so I could build the item. So I convinced them all. It's not even that good of a weapon for you guys. Come on, there's better weapons for you.
Did you ever actually
Let
get it?
Let me get it. It never dropped, and we killed that boss. I think we killed that boss every single week until AQ came out. And it just never dropped. So, just unlucky, I guess. But yeah, it was fun still, though. It was really fun to play with them. And I'm sure they had a lot more fun because they were playing super geared up warriors. But yeah, so new expansion, obviously lots of stuff, lots of new stuff. We already talked about the Battleground Blitz stuff that's coming in the world and, other content for the game. But like, what's got you most excited for the War Within?
Has me more excited, or I guess most excited, is I'm probably going to dabble into more Mythic Plus and Raid than I have in the past. I think that's purely because these classes now feel a little more oomph. Like me just playing like a warrior is my primary. Like we're not even going to go to the alts friendly stuff because that's wild too. But just my warrior's primary. Like if I play arms, I can rotate between 2 hero talents. So it changes up the playstyle while still playing something I'm comfortable with as a foundation, and makes it engaging for me again. Instead of like, okay, let me play Colossus Warrior through this Mythic Plus dungeon again. Woo, I'm such a happy boy. I'm like, let's go Slayer this time. Or like, oh, wait, right, I'm pretty good at Fury. Cool, let me go Mountain Thane. That's going to change it up a little bit for me. So basically, each time you do like the same dungeon again, regardless of like your dungeon party dynamic changing, like which classes you're playing with, if you're familiar with it and you have a 2 DPS class, 2 DPS spec, sorry, Jedith, then you have like 4 options you could do, right? That makes it more engaging for me as a player to have like that one character, regardless of like how extremely alt friendly this expansion seems. And because of like this very long season 4, I got to actually dabble in those classes again. I think this is the most I've played my alts continuously and to like a certain progression level since Mists of Pandaria. Like that's how long of a break it took for me to like play those classes, because I used to be good at all of them and like do these things. I didn't really care for Rogue and Monk, and still don't, but like I used to do everything. And this has been the most rewarding experience for me, actually being able to, you know what, I'm going to play Elemental Shaman now. I'm going to play Frost Decay. I'm going to switch up and play Ret Paladin. Like I'm going to play Mage. Like it's actually been really engaging for me to dabble around between different classes. And I think that's going to kind of focus me into doing Mythic Plus a little bit more, just because of how those classes changed with just the hero talents alone.
Yeah.
That's what makes it more captivating to me. Especially in comparison of like how a warrior has no flair to their abilities at all. And then I can go play an Arcane Mage and blast off Phoenixes. That's way more entertaining for me.
Sun Fury
like an
Arcane
actual
is
visual thing.
very good, yeah.
I'm stoked. Like that's badass. Like so I think that's going to be more encouraging towards doing PvE content.
And everything is shared with the warbands, so you know you can just pick up right where you left off. Great feature. I went into the menu though, and there's I think there's a bug with it. I can't move my my Valor Stones, and I can't move my Crusts. But you know, once they fix that bug, it'll be a really great system.
Sure, it's just something in spaghetti code. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just a bug. Yeah. What about delves? I mean, we haven't talked about delves, but this is like the new capstone feature for the War Within. Have you experienced one?
Yeah, I did a stream where I did standard dad T-Mog. So I had like a Hawaiian shirt and I drank Miller Lite the entire time and made like a tower out of it.
That's what I did for Island.
I just did delves. So dad T-Mog and delves. I was like, all right, here we go. This is what we're doing. And honestly, I was a little kind of disappointed because I wanted like a little bit more of an oomph to it. Kind of like a Mage Tower-esque experience, or like what's the one from Mists of Pandaria where you have the trials?
Oh, like scenarios or
challenge modes?
Challenge?
No.
Oh yeah, challenge modes.
There was it's like the Endless Gauntlet where you get to 30, you get like Proving Grounds.
Oh,
Proving Grounds, yeah.
So Proving Grounds is a solo experience where you go in there and like you see how much it got repetitive after like you did round 15, but still like it was something that kind of challenged you in like your skill set, regardless of other boundaries. So I was kind of hoping for more of that when I went into it. Initially, for the first like couple of cycles, like we got to play through, I was like, all right, cool. I did the delve. It wasn't really that thrilling. I was like, okay, I get it. Braun has really good humor that adds into the element for sure. If you play with sound on, which I think most of us don't sadly anymore.
I do. I like sound. Yeah,
I do.
Yeah. Okay. I had to re-tap into that. I was like, oh my god, this game's so inviting now.
Dude, the voice lines are good. Like they're actually good, and they tell you when things are happening too. It's great.
Yeah, Braun's very interactive as a character. There, it doesn't just feel like a standard NPC that's like, oh, I'm gonna swag this thing. Like it's actually there's charisma there that makes it entertaining.
But is he
it's
useful?
Like aside from,
is he actually useful?
pretty useful.
Yeah,
when he's not stuck in the wall or sleeping.
Yeah. He has some placement issues.
I've had it happen where he just decided he was not showing up at work today. He was calling out sick, and he just literally sat at the entrance. And then
sometimes you got to do
sleeping.
that, man. Right?
Yeah, he started sleeping, and I just had to finish the double on my own. Yeah.
So on that night was also the night where they were testing out the level difficulties. They actually juiced them up a little bit. And once I got to like delve 8 or 9-ish, I was like, oh crap. That kind of jumped up a little bit because like now it was like more appropriate for the item level that we're given on beta. And it started to feel like there's actual pressure here now. There's no pressure of a timer like how you have in Mythic Plus, but there was actual pressure going on for how if you could get out of the delve at that point. So I think they cap out at like what 13, 14. I think it's their first initiative roll through.
Goes up to 11, and then the secret like Mage Tower one I think is like 13 or 12 or something. Something like that.
Yeah, but like around that 8, 9-ish is like when you started to actually feel a little bit of give. It was like, okay, now I actually have to be tactical.
I think that's when it stops increasing in item level, like the gear that it drops. It caps off at 8 or 9, and then after that, the next few steps are purely just like to get to the mage tower thing.
I did a joke bit where I did a speedrun delves as if it was going to be a progression system we had to care about in PvE. I was like, okay, how fast can we do this? Let's be efficient. Let's be sweaty about it. And I think we got a delve down to like 3.5 minutes. It was like me and somebody else. But then getting towards the higher ones, like, dude, it's been 20 minutes. I'm still in here. This is starting to get like, it's getting a little rough. So once I got to experience that, then I was like a little bit more interested in doing delves. It's going to be kind of boring initially, I think, at the start. Once you get up to that 8 or 9-ish, I'm happy for a system to be there for everybody that they can do and also get a vault for it each week. And also if they do actually from there want to branch out and do rating content or Mythic Plus content, then they have a good foundation to start from, instead of being like, I'm max level, what do I do? It's like, go do dungeons. It's like, no, you can go do delves whenever you want. Wait for your buddies to log in and then tackle that content. So I think it's good to have some kind of filling space with something that's a little bit more intuitive.
Yeah, I think conceptually it's a really good idea, and especially since you can just kind of like put it down and go do something, come back and then pick it back up without like inting your teammates. I will say though, you know, obviously you can decide if this is, you know, relevant to you as the viewer, or, you know, if you want to do this content, but like it is optimal to do them. At least once they come out, like with the expansion, like it's going to be the best way to kind of gear up your guy, and you would get like, you know, I think you get like a super delve. Once you do a certain amount, you get like a key, and you'd want to save those for later. So it looks like you probably will end up having to do them. I always like to do finger quotes with that, because it's
there's
like,
always
no
going to be like
some
slight optimal way of like, oh, you should do like 3 each week or something like that. Yeah,
because on the week that Mythic 0 comes out, delves are going to give higher gear than Mythic 0, supposedly.
Well, okay, I know that you'll be doing it as your filler content. The Mythic 0 dungeons, they do have a daily lockout, so you can do them each day, which I think that's a great change, because there's no Mythic Plus yet, so at least you get to go do dungeons with your friends. But yeah, it's like if you're looking to fill the time with something that is efficient to make your character stronger, delves would be the best way to do that. Yeah.
As a mount collector touchpad, are you going to be shooting to do like the Mage Tower challenge at the end? Is that a goal that you
100%.
have?
Yeah. That's really easy content. You don't have to like organize or plan. Like, let's say, for example, the 3 of us want to go do Mythic Plus one night. Organizing between 3 dudes in their 30s is a nightmare and a half, as I'm sure you all experienced. That's just, it's not going to work out. We all want to do it. It's just not going to work out. So at least like having that there as a difficult challenge I can do in the meantime, in case I can't happen to organize something for like, all right, boys, we're going to go tackle Mythic Plus tonight. Oh, that fell through. Oh, I'll go do some difficult delves. Sure, why not?
Yeah, it's great filler content.
Are they potentially shooting themselves in the foot by continuously referring to it as a Mage Tower-esque type of challenge? Because I was thinking about this the other day. They have to be very careful with that. Because if it doesn't deliver Mage Tower expectations, people are going to be so disappointed.
I think that initially just was an earworm thing that happened. I think that was another interview that happened with a dev. And not you, Preheat. With a dev. And it was like, yeah, do you think like maybe you'd like to go towards a route of like a Mage Tower? So they set an example. So like, yeah, I could see that. Never actually confirmed, never said yes. But what do articles like to do? And what do people like to make content around? I was like, they said we might have this. Cool. It's like, no. Calm down. Like, they did not confirm. I would like to see an article where they said, yes, we're shooting for a Mage Tower-like experience. They just, in that interview, is when they actually started working on the delve levels higher than what would reward you max gear.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we already have the system in place. Let's do something, but make it cosmetic. So
I think it's like it's a goal that's good to have, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like that, I think they've set the bar for like what hard solo content can be with the Mage Tower, so that just ends up being, everyone just refers to that as Mage Tower. But yeah,
it's also really hard to like legally or corporate wise display what's happening for this content without upsetting people. It's kind of like walking through a field of landmines. Like, well, it's solo content you could do, and then player base. But is it difficult solo content? It's like you can make it difficult if you would like to. It's like, okay, but is it too easy? It's like, it's very casual friendly. Like, they have to like constantly walk around and dance around the idea. It's like, it's going to be its own thing. You'll enjoy it when you get it. Just, you find out if you want to do it. You don't have to do it, by the way. And that's a better experience than having Torghast where we had to do it every time.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to mess with a lot of people's minds that have been playing WoW for 10 plus years of understanding they don't have to go do something because we're kind of conditioned to log into your dailies, to log in, do this dungeon, to log in, do this raid. Oh, you have to go get this trinket. You have to farm that out. So Dragonflight was kind of like, you don't have to. And we're like, what do you mean we don't have to? This game's seasonal.
And then everyone ends up digging dirt because they're like, I gotta find something I gotta do.
Dude, yeah, it's like sometimes I like to have things that I have to do. I'll be honest. Like maybe I'm that weird person. I like having a list of chores every day. I loved Corthia.
You're just a natural born grinder, man.
I guess so. Yeah. I don't know. I find that stuff fun.
You just need an incentive, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it messed with a lot of people's heads that they were used to WoW soaking up all of their time.
Yeah.
And then it became not that much push to doing such. And it kind of made their brains fizzle out and freak out a little bit. It was like, what do you mean I don't have to play? Stop. I have to find another game? What do you mean? Oh, there's Final Fantasy. Go play that. Like you can go outside too.
Consume the content.
I've been doing gardening. Gardening is great. Go touch some grass. It's fine. Trust me.
You can garden.
It's fine.
Garden
it won't
in
burn.
World of Warcraft touchpad, just so you know.
Yeah.
You can start a garden in Hollowfall if you take up herbalism. So you might need to.
Did you finish your half-o market farm?
Oh no, never.
Wow. For somebody that's being task-oriented.
Listen, that was a task from 10 years ago. I've given up on that one.
I'm sure you have tasks in your head mentally right now that were 10 years ago that you still have to work on.
Let's not talk about that. It's the story of my life. A list of things that never came to fruition.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's just being 30. You know, that's the life of a 30-year-old. Regret. Yeah.
So whenever the expansion first comes out, I'm sure your first goal is to level up. But after that, like, what are your plans for the expansion? Like, what would you normally approach an expansion with as your like to-do list right away?
I mean, obviously I was open up WoW and stuff and see like, okay, what are the top gear raiders doing? Let's find an in-between that's not as stressful and just work a little bit towards that. So the way it covers that base for me. At the start of the expansion, I think going into the War Within, because of how we're having an early access, it's going to be probably the first expansion where I actually dedicate time to level up more characters.
Yeah.
So I can have a little bit more fun for that first season. Because I don't know about you guys, but for me, I was always pressured to like have at least my warrior like completely geared, tuned, ready to go, doing his dailies in operation. And by the time you would have that, the season would start. And then it was just go, 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 go. And it was like there wasn't any stopping. There wasn't like, oh, let me log in my shaman. That'll be fun. No, it was like, no, you need to go do that dungeon remain because you need to go get this currency and do this thing and upgrade your gear for that way you have a raid night. You have free time? No, you don't. Go look at some guides. Look at the boss fights. Look at this. Look at logs.
Yeah.
I think because of the early access release, it's gonna help kind of organically with people so that they can level another character.
Also the cadence of it.
Plan. Yeah.
The cadence of how like the weeks progress. And also the warbands too, right? Because you could get gear for your other character while you're playing your main.
Yeah. And then like if you end up looting like a really sick staff and you're a warrior, well, first off, you get T-Mog. Sweet. Easy done. But then it's like, you know, maybe we'll level the mage next because like now we have something good and juiced when he's max level. So you don't have to dedicate nearly as much time. I think if you look at it like as a chart, how typically you would in Dragonflight is like, okay, here's my warrior, sweet. If I want to play the mage, I have to do that exact same progression pattern again, which is going to disincentivize me to actually play that mage now, right? That sucks. That's not fun. But at least with Dragonflight, it seems like they're taking a major chunk of it out. And that way it's time skipped a little bit because of getting that gear and progression and because of those currencies being account-wide. So I think it's going to help a lot with actually encouraging the player base to play the characters. And that way if their class or they feel their class is not good or performing well, or they heard an article or watched a video or like that class wasn't in the race world first and they feel the need to switch to DK, they can. And it's not nearly as much of a nightmare for them. So as long as like their brain's happy in that category for doing such, I think that kind of fixes that problem.
Even with like reps and renowns, all of that is shared account wide now. So like you don't have to feel bad if you start a character, like you said at the start, you go through it for 2 weeks and you end up wanting to switch mains. All the rep and the renown that you earned in those first 2 weeks, you can have on your new character. So if there's like a specific item that you have to grind, like first thing that comes to mind from Dragonflight was the Cobalt Assembly rep that everyone was grinding at first. If you did all of that and then you ended up having to switch characters, you had to go back and farm that on another character. That was such a pain in the ass. And then by that point, you might, at that point in your head, you might consider like, you know what, maybe I don't even want to raid. Maybe this is too much for me. Right? And that sucks. You don't want the player base to feel like that. Yeah. So I think having the system and taking out that chunk or compressing that amount of time from getting to point A to point B to be caught up with your primary character
is going to be really, really good for the mentality of playing this game.
Yeah, 100%. Anything that helps you play more characters is great in my book. Love being able to just jump on the alt. And I'm a guy who like really mainly sticks with one character, but this expansion I'm going to be maintaining 2 just from the jump, and then probably adding more to the mix because there's so many like hero talents like you're talking about before. Like they're looking so fun that I just gotta
Rider of the Apocalypse just looks way too badass.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like that's just like I only hit a target dummy for like 5 minutes, and I was like, okay, I have to play my DK at some point in this expansion. This is just, it's too thematically cool. Like, it just, you feel powerful playing that character. Like, just visually. It's great, especially in comparison to a warrior. Blizzard, I'm looking at you.
Wait, so how do you feel about the warrior hero talents?
I like them. A lot of people are very concerned about Colossus because it basically does the same thing as Fearloth does. If you play it and you actually get practice with it, which players will be able to see that soon, it doesn't feel as bad. Like, I maybe, even in PvP, missed a Colossus finish, like, once. So, like, the major thing, in case people don't know, to educate, like how Fearloth does, like, does a strike. 5% bigger, that does help. You know, every inch matters. So, how Fearloth works is, like, you had a channel the rooted ability, and it would channel that, and then it would do a big finishing blow. Let's talk about interest in finishing blows. Hello. Colossus does the same thing with Demolish. So, Demolish is an integrated ability. The cool thing about Demolish is it's a 45-second cooldown. You can get up to 10 stacks, and that's like the max damage it can do. It swings twice, which can also cleave off with sweeping strikes, so you can hit 2 targets in that window. And then it does a big burst AoE. But you're rooted in place for like 1.2 seconds, much like how I beam. So there's the problem, right? Now,
I was going to say,
there's clever things.
I hear
clever
you guys
things
complaining. I'm sitting here thinking,
I beam, yeah.
I've been doing it for 5 years. Come on, it's fine.
When you actually get the feel of it, it doesn't feel nearly as punishing as like how Fearloth did, because the channel time is way short, like how I-beam is. Like, you just, I don't know, get good at the game. If you happen to get hit by something in a swirly and you chose I-beam, that's on you. Like, same thing's going to happen for Demolish, right? The cool thing about Demolish is, instead of it being like a wicked long cooldown where it's like 1.5 minutes to use just a big hit ability, it's a 45 and it has CDR built into it. So if you get stacks past 10, then you actually do it more frequently.
I feel like that like pressures you to use it in risky scenarios though. Because if it's like a shorter cooldown and you get cooldown reduction on it too, it's like, oh, I gotta get this thing out so I can start working towards the next one, right?
So you get those stacks basically every 3.6 seconds from Mortal Strike. So, or Cleave. Cleave also does it. So you can store it, and then you also get a 10% damage buff afterwards. So yeah, it is a big hit, but also you as a player should be strategic enough to know when to use that big hit. And it's about every like 30 seconds. Like, if you're really keeping a consistent rate, it's every 30 seconds. So is it more important for you as a player to dodge a mechanic or to get that big hit out 3 seconds earlier? That's it. So I would say that's up to human error on them as a player than onto like the gameplay of it.
I think one thing that might also, it's just one charge, right? Like you just have the one use of it, right?
Yeah.
I think one thing that might help with that situation is adding like a charge system to it, right? Because then if you have charges, it's like you aren't overly punished for holding it a little bit longer, right? Since you have all the leeway between when like one charge is there versus 2 charges to get it out at some point, right? Between those two.
I could be wrong, but I also think there's a passive buff with those stacks that comes with it, so it's not nearly as detrimental. So if you happen to hold on those 10 stacks, I don't think it's that punishing.
I don't know if you mentioned this, but is the channel time reduced by haste?
It was hard to tell because I didn't get like quartz on and like to check all my stuff to see.
It probably is.
Yeah,
I would say it probably
makes it a bit easier to use if you know you're not going to be stuck for like full duration. If you're doing it inside of Lust or whatever, it's going to be a lot shorter.
The other benefit is Colossus is a shared hero talent with Prot, and so they also did make it so that you're immune to pushback effects, and you can also still like dodge, block, parry type stuff. So like you're pretty bricked up, not like the bricked up like tanky.
Both of them.
So yeah, or both, you know. So like it doesn't feel as bad. I think people were way over concerned about it at first, and you actually can still use Heroic Leap before that last finishing blow hits. You can use some movement effect abilities.
That's cool.
But you are sacrificing like that hit landing sometimes. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. Slayer looks cool. It's just kind of boring. It's just spin, spin, spin. Neat. Mountain Thing's fun because who doesn't like God of Thunder and like all this lightning happening everywhere? Probably the best change was that they made it so Thunderclap actually affects like how Meat Cleaver does. For any non-warrior mains out there, that makes it so like when you Whirlwind, you cleave targets with your single target abilities. They integrated that into Thunderclap in your Mountain Thing. so that way I don't have to hit Thunderclap and Whirlwind. So that's good.
Oh, that's cool.
What was the other one? No, that was the 3, right?
Yeah, it sounds like
Oh,
so like it sounds like basically you've got like some really good options there. But Slayer, so tell me a little bit about Slayer. Does it are you just like hitting like giant executes, or is it more like you're just having
It emphasizes on execute a lot and basically Bladestorm. So it was initially Bladestorm in the first like alpha and beta build for it, but the problem was with coding it into being Bladestorm is it gave Bladestorm effects, which could be good or bad. PvP wise, let's say when you Bladestorm, it actually gives you freedom. So that kind of went into play whenever you would get that proc. So basically warriors like every 8 to 15 seconds had a free freedom that would break them out of roots. I was like, okay, maybe that's not too good.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, so
too much, man.
and when I was playing it, because I chose to like rotate between each hero talent for questing through Hollowfall, I got to experience like each spec and how it just played questing wise. Most of the time I was just a Beyblade. It wasn't really captivating gameplay. Look, don't get me wrong, Beyblades are cool. That's fine. Spin to win, neat, easy rotation.
People
But
love
it's
that.
just like, yeah. But there wasn't anything else afterwards. I was just like, oh, did I get proc? No. Okay, well, poop. They
Yes.
changed to like I think Blade of Steel as entitlement for it instead of being Bladestorm. And it's such a quick animation. You'll still see it, so you have the visual gratification that it procced. And you also have something called like Slayer Strikes, which does if your regular hand movement, like that's how you attack as melee. When Slayer Strike happens, like a random like quick strike happens that changes up the flow of your animations, which is kind of cool, but you almost rarely notice it. So it's kind of like but emphasize on high mobility, spin to win, and execute damage.
Yeah, sometimes you get dizzy though. You got to stop spinning for a little bit. Gotta get your
Have
bearings.
you seen the Windwalker Monk immersion, Wikora?
No, but I
No.
can imagine what that is.
When you spinning crane kick, it like imagine like your
Like first
mouse on like
person?
the highest setting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just completely
funny-
spins.
What's funny is if you do that in game, you'll disconnect really quick if you just keep spinning
my
your
God.
character like that. The game doesn't.
I don't know
what
how
to
this
do.
does it. If it's the camera and whatnot, maybe it is
Yeah.
the camera, but your camera moves the entire time with it. Like it's a nightmare.
That's hilarious.
But you can look up like the Windwalker immersion add-on.
I
There's
saw
also a
one that-
Demon Hunter immersion add-on too, which is kind of.
I was just thinking, like that sounds
Yeah.
like something that demon hunters could actually utilize for benefit if we like have a weak aura where when we vengeful retreat, it turns our camera around for us.
Oh yeah,
that'd be sick.
maybe it has a backing up beep sound too, like a
Beep,
forklift.
beep, beep, beep.
Yeah. No, I saw one that was
You gotta
like
be forklift certified for that though. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Very important to be certified. Don't want to be riding dirty in the forklift. Dude, I saw one that was like an immersion, but it was like you're driving a car for a Brewmaster tank. And it was equipped with like all the sounds and like, you know, if you did clash, like it would literally crash and then your windshield would
Yep.
break. You have like the steering wheel and stuff like that. There was one for Demon Hunter that was like an airplane, like a pilot's UI, dude. There's
Oh
like
my
other
God.
ones out there. That's one of the things I love about World of Warcraft is the fact that you can just make the UI whatever you want it to be. So you can just do like the dumbest stuff possible. Obviously, it has the downside of like insane spaceship weak auras that tell you exactly what to do and do all the thinking for you. But
Yeah.
it is really cool to have that customization because you end up with some hilarious stuff.
do you guys remember it was briefly talked about probably a few expansions ago now? I almost feel like it was back at Legion. They were trying to implement an action camera.
Oh yeah, that's still in the game.
Yeah,
You can
It
activate
is. Yeah, you have to activate it with the code. Have you guys like I think with Vengeful Retreat that would look badass. Like you had a
I haven't
camera
tried
on
it.
for Vengeful Retreat.
Yeah. I feel like they should take another look at that action camera because it's super cool.
It
It's a
feels
neat
more
idea.
immersive into playing.
Yeah.
I like that it shifts the camera a bit so that you're not looking like you can see what's in front of your character because you're like to the
Yeah.
side a little bit. It's more of like the what's it called, like isometric third person view kind of thing. But
Yeah.
the other camera improvements are really good too, right? Like the one where like if you're turning and there's like a tree or like a lamppost, it doesn't
You can still see
bang your
character
camera
as
in.
a shadow.
yeah. The silhouette thing.
Yeah. Well, no, there's one where like literally it will keep your camera at the same distance as you
Oh.
scroll. The thing will just pass in front of you as opposed to like, you know how it's
Zooming
a little
in your
janky and it'll,
camera.
Like, yeah, you'll like
Yeah.
slam in because you have like something in the way. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Which
a
will-
really good feature.
Help a lot with also designing probably raid encounters in the future. But it might also force people to have to enable that, which can be a problem. But
Yeah, I
up to the
find
player
it.
if they want to use it.
Yeah, there's a bug on beta too with the stupid, you know, the highlights of the character where like if you could not see your character, it would like do a highlight. Apparently that was crashing me on Mythic Plus. I had no idea, and once I turned that off, it stopped
Oh my
crashing.
God.
But yeah, I'm sure they'll fix that. But yeah, it was a bit. Dude, I
Sure,
spent so
we'll
long
fix
trying
it.
to figure out why I was crashing on the beta all the time, and it turned out it was just that setting. such a
Oh
silly
my god.
I feel
That's
like
rough.
that's been the sentiment with so many things lately. It's just like, I'm sure they'll fix it before release. It's
Yeah,
They'll-
I still have
yeah,
PTSD with Heroic Leap because they tried to implement it twice. It was originally supposed to be in Burning Crusade, and they delayed it, I think, until Cataclysm. Or did we have it in Wrath? I forgot. But anyways, I digress. When they tried to add Heroic Leap, it just broke everything because they weren't ready for the verticality of players and how they
Right.
moved. And so they broke it to so much to a point where there was memes for like a good 3 years of like, oh, there's no path available. It wasn't just for charge. It was like when you would try to land Heroic Leap, it just wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Because that was their solution to Band-Aid fix the problem. But because of all that history I have in playing my warrior, every time I hit Heroic Leap, I'm like, okay, we're good. We're fine. It's okay.
You're afraid of that error message.
Yeah, or like not the error message, but like falling through the floor, clipping through a wall, being stuck in a mountain. Like
I'm sure
Listen, you're-
mages know all about that.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're
Yeah.
talking to someone who played Mage for like 10 years and still plays Mage and Invoker. Both of those classes suffer from that in so many scenarios. It's so frustrating when you're trying to deep breath and it's like no path available. Like, what do you mean there's
Just
no
get
path
good.
available?
have
Yeah.
you thought about getting good?
Or blinking through the floor, right? A classic, timeless classic.
Yeah.
Love blinking through the floor. Yeah.
I mean, we had it with Fell Rush. Sometimes we would Fell Rush and just disconnect. For no
yeah,
reason.
that's the or like Vengeful Retreat. It's like
Mhm.
something about hunters do that too if they disengage. It's like something about like the momentum as you're like reaching the ground. It thinks that you're breaking the like there's like an enforced like speed limit in the game and to like detect if you're like speed hacking or whatever, and it
Yeah.
tricks it basically trips the automated system. So it thinks that you're cheating. So the anti-cheat literally disconnects you. That's why that happens, by the way.
Yeah, because
That's terrible.
Fell Rush like actually increases your movement speed for literally 1 second. So yeah, it's triggering that, like, I guess you can call it like a speed governor on the game to
Yeah.
make sure that you're not hacking.
Just have a dude on a top hat overlooking you constantly when you're playing a high mobility class, judging you with his monocle.
Yeah, slow down. Dude, I one time I lagged out while I was doing a Fell Rush and I literally flew, you know the intro zone for Demon Hunter? I literally flew like out into the abyss and I just kept flying like a rocket.
Yeah, that's
So
something that
yeah,
happens.
if you ever lag during that.
I don't know why it happens, but what I found is when you Fell Rush around like a rounded corner, that's when you get the turbocharged Fell Rushes, and it just
Turbocharged.
sends you fucking flying.
It feels
happens
good, though.
all the time.
Well, unless you like overshoot, right? And then it probably feels pretty bad.
Yeah.
Or like flying to a hole and die. But that's like a classic Demon Hunter maneuver, right? People will be like,
Well, that's just what I want to do in real life, so that's fine. It's just Demon Hunters are like the immersion. What I can't do in real life, I get to do in a game. That's the point of a
Yeah.
fantasy setting, right?
Have you ever wanted to feel like you are constantly avoiding banana peels with rollerblades on? That's the Demon Hunter experience. Just, trying to avoid the banana peels. So we have some fun questions to get to now, or at least
Sure. Go
one
for it.
that we'll start off with, and this one will be a little longer, I think. So the question is for all three of us, whoever wants to go first. But have you ever almost died, and what happened? And if you haven't, you can always use another example of like a time that you averted disaster.
How graphic are we getting?
Yeah. I mean, you can decide whatever's appropriate for you, but
I can censor a little bit.
Keep it YouTube appropriate.
Yeah. Let's say I had a friend. Let's say, right? So there you go. Let's say I had a friend that was on things he shouldn't be.
Okay.
And operating a vehicle on a rainy day, going downhill way too fast than he should have. Tried to switch lanes, got a flip complete, I think it was almost like a 540. And then facing onto oncoming traffic coming down from that hill on a rainy day. That was the worst experience I had.
yeah.
You mean your
that
friend?
was
your
my
friend
near fatal.
Your friend had.
No, I was in the car.
Oh, you
you-
were in the car.
I was
Okay.
the passenger in the car.
Did you
Ah.
remain on the road or did you go
Went
off the
on-
road?
Half the car was on the curb when it flipped around like that, just looking at the traffic. That was fun.
That's terrifying.
He's clean now. He's good. He's still alive. So good on you, buddy. I'm not
Yeah,
going
the
to name
story
drop
has a
you.
happy ending. There you
Yeah,
go.
he's working a really good job. He climbed a corporate ladder. He's doing fantastic. So,
And we're playing World of Warcraft. So,
Yeah. he's like, "You're still doing that well?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, you lived with me for like 4 years. I took care of you." I'm like, all right, drugs are bad. Don't do drugs.
Joe, do you want to go next or?
I've been thinking about this one. I was the type of person throughout my life. I didn't really play sports. I didn't really like put myself in situations where danger was all of that like possible to me. I've never broken a bone. I've never done any of that stuff.
Me too. I've never broken the bone.
Yeah,
Must be nice.
Did you know there's a subreddit for people who have never broken the bone, and the only thing that gets posted is people basically telling everyone, confessing that they broke a bone, and everyone just makes fun of them, and that's the entire purpose of the subreddit.
I need to join.
So you're still a member of it, even if you aren't officially. Like everyone is.
The reason I play WoW is because I broke a bone.
Really?
Well,
yeah, I actually have a mean right hook. It didn't heal right on my arm, so it actually like the two bones they layered on top of each other. And Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out, so that was occupying my time. So like this bone right here is flat. This one curves up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But so like I didn't have anything to do. Like I was playing lacrosse at the time, and I was like, well, I'm stuck at home. And my friend came over with World of Warcraft to install like the 6 discs.
Canon event.
And I was like,
right there.
Yeah, there you go. And then now I'm here. And then so that friend that broke my arm, I hung out with him recently. We're still friends, surprisingly, after 24 years. And he was like, hey, you're welcome for your career. I was like, you are such an ass. Like, what the? Who says that? We just sat down. Like,
I bet you could armbar someone pretty good with it, though. Probably.
I've never punched somebody either. I know I'm Scottish and Irish, and I have a big red beard, and I drink, but like, not a very hostile person.
Yeah, I've never fought anyone either. So, I was going to say,
let's go.
You know, I've never done any of that stuff. I've never broken a bone, but I did have a really bad stomach ache one time, and I thought I was going to die. That's about it.
A tummy ache is a big. Yeah, a bad tummy ache is serious, right?
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not a joking matter.
Cold
and God
sweats.
gives his worst tummy aches to his most small
attractive
soldiers.
people.
Yeah, most.
I thought it was like a canon thing that like, I thought it was like, you know, all hot girls have tummy aches. So
it's true.
Same applies to men, you know. So you're just a very attractive person. That's why you get those tummy aches.
Makes sense. I'll take
it's
it.
your burden to bear.
I'll take that over something else.
So when I was younger, opposite kind of situation, I was a bit of a daredevil. So I used to go skydiving a lot, and whenever you're doing skydiving, there's different ways you can do it. But whenever you're starting off, you obviously have to do it with someone like strapped to you, and then you go out with like instructors. But I primarily did like the freestyle, where you just go out there and you just jump out the plane, that you can do whatever you want there. And
yeah, I mean,
it's
off. You're like, oh, you go off as instructor. Like,
the reason I got into this was because my dad said, you know, oh, you would never do that. And it, you know, whenever you're a little kid, you hear your parents say that.
Another canon thing. Yep, there you go.
No,
yep.
I will do that. Yeah. So I went like a lot. And the last time I ever went, so all the skydiving places, they're all like out in the middle of nowhere, because, you know, the biggest risk if you're skydiving is hitting like a power line. Because, I mean, you're toast if that happens, right? So they try to put it like away from all the infrastructure. So that's why those are always out like in rural areas or whatever. But
like bridges and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to like avoid like too many trees and power lines. Power lines will get you. But so it was like exceptionally windy that day. So they sent us like really far away from the base, because, you know, you always want to like float back, use the wind stream to bring you back. And I was going out and I was doing the freestyle kind, where it's like, you know, I got to pull my own chute and do all the stuff. And it's always really fun whenever you jump out and you have like the sense of falling, but you do have to like keep your balance while you're falling, because like the wind, you know, you have to like have a certain stance or else you'll lose control. And if you lose control whenever you pull your chute, it could get tangled. So it's kind of important that you have like good etiquette with that. And yeah, I don't remember what exactly happened, but it was super windy that day, and something happened to my altimeter. That's the thing that tells you like how high up you are, so you know when to pull. It like came loose and it like slapped me right in the face. And I like broke my stance, and then I lost control, and I just started just like spinning. By the time I finally stabilized, I realized that I was way too low. Like I should have pulled my chute way before. So I pulled my chute, and I ended up basically in the middle of nowhere. And I did have to maneuver, you know, you got the little hooks. So you're like pulling those down to try and steer, right? I was having to like steer away from the trees, and there were a couple power lines that I was very aware of. So I had to, you know, maneuver around that. Ended up in like some random field, and you know, I'm just like walking around with my big old jumpsuit and my
yeah,
my
they never show the post credits when they have that happen. Yeah, so it's just like
there's
you're in the middle of nowhere holding all that stuff.
It takes someone who's like trained to put it back in the bag, because there's just like, okay, you know,
there's
like
a certain way how you have to layer it in. Yeah.
Yeah, you ever try to stick like a sleeping bag that you just took out of the bag like back into the bag? It's like that, but like probably 100 times worse. But anyways, I ended up finding a road. I had to jump a couple fences, and people showed up and got a ride back. But I was supposed to go again that day. I was like, no, I think I'm done.
Know, it seems like a bad day.
I think we're over this little hobby. And so I caught a ride with some folks who were there up to Austin, and I just spent the rest of the day at the arcade. So
there you go.
It was a fun day.
So I've always wanted to ask somebody who has gone skydiving. You know, like when you're outside and like a big gust of wind comes and it hits you in the face and it's hard to breathe.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like when you're falling?
Yeah. So like whenever you're falling, it's like think about like this, right? The wind is hitting you so hard. You could simulate this by like sticking your head out the window in a car and like trying to breathe, but it's like it's hitting you really hard, right? So you do feel a little bit of shortness and also of air, and also like the altitude obviously is a factor too, right? Like the air is thinner up there. But it does feel very strange because you're just being hit so hard. It almost feels like the wind is like cradling you in a way, but you have that sense of complete weightlessness, which is awesome. Like whenever you're actually in that window, and it's very short, by the way. Like whenever you first jump out, from the time you jump until the time you like pull your chute, it feels like it happens in like a snap second, because like, you know, you're going so fast, and then it's very loud. It's extremely loud. But once you pull your chute, instantly silent. And the difference
tranquility
there,
around you. So you went from like this such extreme adrenaline rush into peacefulness and tranquility. That's
exactly wild. Yeah, you have like the crazy adrenaline going, and like the volumes on max, and you can't turn it down. And as soon as you pull your chute, you do feel like you're kind of having like all the straps kind of like yank you up really hard. But as soon as that happens, it's like the sound switches off, and it's very tranquil and peaceful, and it's really cool whenever you're actually like at the end of it, getting to kind of come down. But you obviously got to look for hazards and stuff. So I don't think I would recommend it to like anyone, but if you enjoy adrenaline seeking, it's pretty fun.
I don't think I would ever do it. Well, I wouldn't say ever. Maybe one day. But I have no
like.
If
I did it with you, would you do it? Would you do it if I went with you?
Only if you were strapped to my back.
I'm not licensed to do tandem, so yeah, I can do that. Sorry. Yeah.
So you have to go solo with somebody else. It's like the Battleground Blitz. There you go. So you can queue with somebody else, Jedith. It'll be fine, and then he's going to do his own solo experience.
If you want to go, do the tandem, because you're strapped to an instructor who is like a god at it, and they'll just do everything for you, and you're just along for the ride. That's honestly the best way to do it. The freestyle one, you have to do stuff yourself, so like there's a lot more that you can mess up.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But with tandem,
you do so much. You do so much carrying in World of Warcraft. Let somebody carry you for once. It's
that's
fine.
right.
It'll be okay. You know, enjoy the ride.
I don't know if that's true as of lately, but yeah.
Oh, one thing that's fun. Here's a fun fact about it too. You actually will like consume an entire meal's worth of like food and energy like in that short span of like 2 minutes. Whenever you're in free fall, your body's just going so crazy that like if you do 2 jumps in a row, like they make you eat food between, because you're just burning like so many calories, and you'll just be like.
So this is your weight loss program you're trying to sell us, right? Just to go skydiving. So just you do one dive every day, and like you'll lose weight like super rapid fast.
I don't know if it works that way. All I know is they force you to have a meal between. They won't let you like go back to back. If you're once you've done it like enough, maybe that goes away. But
are there weight restrictions to skydiving?
I'm sure there are. Yeah, because I mean it's like, you know, you have to factor in the let's say the engineering aspects of it, right? The physics aspects. So I'm sure that there's some sort of requirements for that. I know that they also like they take you up on like the crappiest plane you've ever seen in your life. But I mean, you're jumping out of it anyway, so who cares, right? It's like, oh, the plane goes down, you got a parachute.
That's part of the adrenaline experience. They try to make it so they add a little fear into you that you have to jump. That's why.
That's right. Yeah, you don't feel bad jumping. You're like, dude, I feel safer jumping out of this thing. Honestly, get me out of here. Yeah, exactly. When can I jump? Can I jump out right now? Yeah.
Maybe one day. If I'm trying to like impress a girl or something.
You gotta fix the tummy aches first, though, man. You gotta get down their control.
Yes, because if you skydive with a tummy ache,
it's over. I mean,
you might have an accident.
Like, oh, his chute pulled. It's like, that's not a chute.
Uh-oh. Well, cool. Yeah. So I think we're actually here. I think we're about at time where we usually kind of wrap things up. So if you have anything else you want to add, or anything else that you're excited for, anything you want to plug, Touchpad, feel free to. I
don't really have anything to plug. Like, we're all playing the same damn game, and we're all gonna be degenning for like the next month and a half, probably, give or take. We're all gonna be in our own elements. I would just say, you know, as I'll try to reach out to both of y'all and to anybody watching, make sure to check in on your fellow WoW friends, even if you're not playing with them at that time, and be like, hey, I'm still alive. It's important to do some checkups. Even if you just see them online, it's like, hey, you're right. Have you slept? Did you drink water? Are you taking Tums, Jedith? Do you have some Pepto-Bismol?
Always.
Check in on some stuff. Things to plug. I don't know, follow on Instagram, because we're close to 100,000 followers there. That'd be cool. We're like at 200,000 following collective on everything. So that's neat. Technically, content creators are defined by the largest platform. So I'm an Instagram influencer, which is gross.
Wow. Does that mean you get like makeup deals and stuff?
I actually did have a company hit me up for a makeup thing. I'm not kidding.
Or like beard oil, dude. If I was selling beard oil,
I'm already sponsored by a beard oil company.
I'd be like, get this man in here right now.
I got whiskey covered. I got beard covered. I got mics covered, and I had something else. I was Grimfrost. They stopped the program, but yeah, we're good. I got all my bases are covered. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. Follow the shit and stuff, and follow them.
You're on TikTok too.
Yeah,
that's a big one for you too, right? It's a pretty big one.
Yeah, it's smaller than Instagram now.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought TikTok was like your biggest one.
You know how hard it is to market World of Warcraft, such an old game, to a younger audience?
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's not a very thrill diving game where like you're going in and getting like a good KD ratio and stuff and like all this adrenaline's happening. I'm like, dee-da-dee-da, whoop, got him out. Like,
that's the game my dad plays. Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at like 92,000 followers on Instagram and like 87,000 on TikTok. So like they're close enough to range, but like most of Instagram's millennials. So I make like one silly joke about how we're getting old and everybody's like, ha ha ha, that's funny, that's me. And then like that's what pops off. Where I do it on TikTok, like, ha, boomer. So it's just different categories, different fields. But yeah, all the stuff and bells and whistles, all Touchpadwarrior. That's it.
I just realized we all got the beards. Obviously yours is in a different category, but we do all rock it here. Yeah, beard gang.
As long as you can grow one, just have it.
That's right.
At one point, I think you were rocking just a mustache, right?
Yeah, I do that. I'm known to do that. So it usually is whenever I need to shave my beard because I need to do a reset. It's really just a matter of like it just gets out of hand. I just gotta chop it. But I like to keep the mustache around.
Mine's not thick enough. I can't grow.
So we rotate. Rotate between the two, just depending on how lazy I am.
Mine gets too long. Like most people haven't seen my upper lip in years. Like it hasn't seen sunlight in years. I have to avoid certain foods. Like,
yeah, yogurt, dude. You gotta watch out for yogurt, man. That's a killer.
I've dead ass had yogurt through a straw at one point. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Just
dedication.
Why not?
Like you have to have it. Like this is horrifying. Like nobody sees this. Most people don't even know I have teeth.
Yeah.
Like it just looks like I'm missing teeth.
Do you have like the little scissors, like the mustache scissors? There's ones I have that are really good to.
Oh, I'm sure, but my fiance is a cosmetologist, so.
Oh, okay. Well, your bases are all covered then.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't have to do a damn thing.
You let your mustache go over your lip too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to cut that too short because then you lose that look.
Yeah. Then I'm just like, I thought about doing this at one point.
Turning it up,
like the
twist.
It just looks really silly with how big the beard is.
You run. So
I think you have to have like one of those big ones.
Yeah, you run the risk with the twirled up mustache where it's like you may come off as like pretentious just because you have a twirled mustache.
Well, that's when you get the monocle and the top hat. Yeah.
But I will say twirling the mustache hits different. Like that is a feeling. Like stroking the beard is a good feel, right? If you ever stroked your beard, it's like, yeah, I'm really thinking about shit. But like you twirled a mustache, whew, that's a whole different level.
Yeah,
it's also
ladies love it.
Like if you're doing something evil, especially twirled a mustache, very important.
I try to entice fear into my audience constantly when I just stay quiet and just doing stuff like this. Like,
yeah, what's he thinking about?
And then I just ignore him. Like, and then I'll say something completely random that's not even relative. I'm like, never mind. And just not even acknowledge anything happening. Just entice the emotion that something could have happened.
Yeah, that's something you gotta look out for.
You got to keep people in a state of fear. That's the best way to control them. So
that sounds like viewer psychological manipulation. And I like it.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you have to do, right?
Yep, that's the trick.
They harass me every single day for 6 hours. I get to do something back, okay?
One last question for Touchpad. Are there any mounts in the War Within that you for sure know you want to get? Like one or two that you've seen that you have
the one
your
off
eyes
of
set
Mythic,
on?
What's her name? Last boss.
Oh, Queen Ansarek?
Yeah. That mount, like the kind of colossal, like bat thing, Nerubian, way too cool looking. There's like 3 models or 3 different color variants of it, but that one looks the best because I think it's like white with red tipped and it has like good contrast on the body. It's like a Goliath bat thing.
Is it the same model as the PvP one? PvP one has like gold armor.
The PvP one is terrible. I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what? I think I could push for Glad. I think I could do this because like I've had 2100 a few times here and there, like plenty of expansions. I'm like, I think I should finally go for that push. You remember the bat mount we got for Battle for Azeroth, like the intro campaign? It's cool. It's a bat. Sweet. We got a bat mount. It's just that, but armored.
I kind of like it.
I like the bat mounts, but typically a gladiator mount, especially as we come from an expansion like Dragonflight, where we have these like a gorgeous gladiator mounts. even in other prior expansions, I don't think I've seen a worse gladiator mount since like WoD, where you had groundlings. Groundlings were the gladiator mounts in WoD. I was like, okay, so it doesn't fly. They looked cool. Don't get me wrong. Like the colors on them are great, and it definitely pops out. But it's just a ground mount. This one does at least fly. That's good. Yeah. But it's just like they took like that, and they just gave it some armor. It doesn't feel gladiator-esque. It doesn't pop as much. Yeah, it's just kind of sad.
Anything other than that for mounts that you have your eyes set on?
Oh, they're dirtable, but there's like a void version of it, which is the mount you get during your delves.
Yeah, delves.
So you can customize that mount and stuff, which seems really cool.
I like the little ship that you can like customize for the delves as well. Yeah, that thing's cool.
So you can get like different parts of it, right? Like you can customize each individual, like.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it works like dragon riding, where it's like, you know, you get the little drop downs and you can set it up exactly the way you want it.
Yeah.
That's cool incorporating that system, and also kind of like how they had the saber, like the mech saber mount from Mechagon.
Oh yeah.
Because like you can go get the different paints and stuff. So it seems like they're combining those two worlds. I know Preheat, you asked about like sources for mount collection stuff. Easiest things, if you want to have that down in like the video description below for like when this is a YouTube video. Mountain Journal Enhanced is a great add-on. I can also type these out to you later if you would like.
I'm typing them right now.
Okay. It's all one word, Mountain Journal Enhanced. That's a good in-game add-on. It actually displays everything way better for you than the default UI. So it compresses everything, so it's way smaller. It also shows you the percentage of players that has those mounts. Ooh. And it pulls that information from proper resources. Like Data for Azeroth, which is one of the websites I would recommend. Data for Azeroth is what can keep track of your entire collection accounts and like what you have available, where you rank up in the world when it comes to achievements, completion, all of that stuff. And then obviously Simple Armory is a really good tool too. Because Simple Armory, you can actually hit like the planner button. It'll give you a display. And it has a quick icon list that you can see and categorize by expansion. And it'll also tell you like where you get that item from. But Mountain Journal Enhanced, like if you were to get anything from that stuff, that takes care of like most of that for you. It tells you like where things are, where to get them, how rare it is, if it's obtainable still. All that information is like just an add-on cooked right there.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we usually like to end the episodes with like a UI improvement of the week. And since we're talking about collection, I feel like this is a very good recommendation. So,
and for Battle Pets, it's called Rematch.
We don't need that one.
What you want.
It's fine.
Okay.
Dude, wait, is that the one where you can like script the battles? Because there was one where I had where you could like script them all out and you just click.
I'm not sure about the scripting for it. I do know you can make preset teams. So like if you're doing like one of the dungeons and you can make a note. So I'd keep a note in there and be like, okay, I used this team with this, there's layout, and like do this on this turn. So I'd have like my own notes that I pulled from a website that said how to do it, which is why I don't really enjoy pet battles too much, because it is basically just scripted. It's not engaging or like thrilling like how a Pokemon battle is, where it's like, oh, well, he's holding onto this item, so like I have to do this now. Like it's cool, hit 2, then hit 4, then hit 2, then hit it's like, all right. Yeah. Ooh, that's great.
Yeah, so. back in Eternal Palace, part of our raid prep for Race the World First was we literally had everyone in the guild have to buy this one comp of pets, and then you downloaded this add-on and you just pasted in the script that I think Sang wrote up or maybe found. And then you just, every battle had a different way that it would set up your party automatically with the script, and then you just clicked a single button and it would follow the parameters, and it would lose sometimes, but if you lost, you just healed up and then did it again. And it would always, like, it was basically always like the best way to win for the time spent. So like you would just go in every day and just click until you won the battle.
Oh my God.
So, and that was like literally part of our prep was to get it done so that we could get the rep, so we could get the stupid, whatever the Azurite trait was. I forget what it's called, but
yeah,
one of those things.
Let's hope we don't see a scenario like that again.
I think they're done forcing hardcore people to do pet battles. I think they learned their lesson.
Or should have a Race to World First for like top pet battle completion or something. That's the next MDI. It's just pet battles.
Well, because we're talking about pet battles, I think that's the perfect sign that's telling us that this episode is over.
Touchpad tanked about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. Touchpad, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, everyone, make sure you check out Touchpad on all socials at Touchpadwarrior. Thank you guys for listening. If you haven't followed us over on Spotify yet, make sure you check us out there. All episodes are posted there before they go up on YouTube. So if you want a early access peek into the episode, make sure you go check it out on Spotify, and everything will be posted on YouTube afterwards. Thanks again, and catch you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Peace.
Later.